Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard the Wright Flyer. I'm Randy Wright, and I'll be your captain on this solo flight special edition of our state-of-the-art radio program. Folks, this will be the vinyl boarding call, so if you please, claim your seats, fasten your seat belts, kick back, relax, and enjoy the show while I go ahead and delve into the pre-flight checklist, as there really is a lot of news and information to get to before I may fully indulge you with your in-flight entertainment. Well, folks, if there is one thing that we see continuing to linger in this 2016 presidential election cycle, it's the fact that the Don Trumpollini is continuing to attack Ted Cruz, even though he suspended his campaign a while back now. And it's very disgusting to see, because one of the things that we hear from the proponents of a false unity under this tyranny of unity is this idea that they keep saying that we should just get over it, that, to use their vulgarian terms, that we, the Cruz crew, are just butthurt, need to get over it. Well, wouldn't it also apply to the Don Trumpollini? Shouldn't he just get over Ted Cruz? Shouldn't he just get over someone who's not even in the race anymore? Shouldn't he be trying to reach the olive branch to conservatives if the whole idea was that he is a conservative? Because he has certainly done nothing thus far to convince me that he is a conservative. He's done nothing thus far to convince me that he is sane and rational and deserving of the reins of political power in this once thriving and flourishing representative republic of ours. And to say that he is the lesser of two evils is becoming even more and more apparent that that's just not the case, because he engages in the same type of Saul Alinsky tactics that we see utilized by the frothing at the mouth Fabian socialists. He goes after Republicans much harder than he goes after the Democrats. Look, he's trying to get buddy-buddy with Noid-faced Vermont Senator Boynme Sanders. Why? Why is he trying to get up with the man who is always sounding like a freeloading drunk? Why does he think that bringing in the disaffected supporters of a self-avowed socialist is what is necessary to put this country back on course? Folks, all it would be is a continuation of the failed policies that we have suffered throughout these two disastrous terms of the Barack Hussein Obama regime. It would be the same things that we have seen time and again against all that we hold near and dear in this country. But the Branch Trumpidians don't care. They mimic their fearless leader, the Don Trumpollini. They are made people in the Trumpollini mob. Well, that's not going to fly here. And that's certainly not going to convince those of us who are firmly committed to our principles and to our core beliefs to just swing over and support the Donny Wani Trumpollini. Now that he is still the presumptive nominee, but has the delegates for the nomination, should he not be pushing for party unity? Now, I know that some of the Branch Trumpidians have come out and said this means war, and no, we don't need to unify with you. Well, go to hell, because you're not going to get us, and every time that somebody doesn't run as a conservative in the gutless opposition party or GOP, it spells disaster in the general election. Have we learned nothing from 2008? Have we learned nothing from 2012? Apparently not. This is what the detente wing has brought about, and I do lay a vast majority of the blame at their feet, but I also have to lay it at the Trump cultists who simply refuse to open their eyes to the truth, who simply laud and love and encourage this sort of vile vulgarity that has no place in an open and honest society like that of the United States. It is insanity to see it unfurling the way it is. And if they don't think that the graduates of Pavlov's School of Journalism for the salivating mainstream media is going to attack him being Don Trumpollini, then they are full of excrement. They're just not paying attention to reality. And even if he does manage to win, he's not going to do any of the things that he promised for them. But they don't care. They are so enamored with him that they will change their opinions on the drop of a hat, just like he does. But these childish schoolyard bully tactics, it's unbecoming of a virtuous republic. And I don't think Donnie is able or capable of distinguishing between what is true political correctness, because we see that he caved on the so-called gender-neutral restrooms, which was pure, unadulterated political correctness, and being someone who has class, someone who is an upstanding citizen and individual. What America needs more than anything is a statesman, and Donnie ain't that. In fact, he's so bad, he makes Hillary look like a statesman. Now, is that really what's going to work for this country? No, of course not. But Donnie Trump, the Don Trumpollini, just is not the lesser of two evils. And this, yeah, but Hillary now argument that the Trumpidians and the Trumpster divers are attempting to foist upon us, that's just not going to work either. A tyranny of false unity won't work. The reason it won't work is because we see that he continues to push ever further to the left. That will never convince unity, the type of unity that is needed to bring us to victory. The last time we saw anything like that was with George W. Bush, where he did push in 2000 for that kind of unity. Now, did he wind up being a disappointment of a president? Sure. But Donnie is going to be much worse. The Don Trumpollini has never really even espoused conservative values, except for the 18 milliseconds after he decided to officially throw his hat in the ring back in July of 2015. So now that Ted Cruz isn't in the race, and his followers, those of the Don Trumpollini, are now trying to browbeat us into coming into this tyranny of false unity by saying, you guys just need to get over being butthurt, and Trump's amazing. Have you seen he built a tower? He has smally hands, he's got badly hair, and he's just great. He's a great businessman and negotiator. That it's not convincing me. It's not convincing me, and I ask, why does he bring up an attack on Ted Cruz while courting the most frothing-at-the-mouth leftist candidate who has run for the highest office in the land in living memory, the Eugene V. Debs of our era, Vermont Senator Nerdface Bernie Sanders? You see, it's ludicrous. It shows that he is not living in reality, that he is locking himself up in Trump Tower, and he's just refusing to see what is necessary to win. Which is why we here at Radio Aviation Excellence for the past 10.5 months straight have been warning about just what a diabolical, disastrous mistake a Trump nomination would be. Of course, the Branch Trumpidians chose not to heed our warnings. They chose to tell us that we were just idiots for refusing to drink the quaff aid. Well, you know, actions have consequences. And when it comes to, or if it comes to a defeat of the Donnie, of the Don Trumpollini, don't come crying to us. Don't lay the blame at our feet. You created this monster. You developed this Leviathan, and you reap the whirlwind. Because we were not responsible for this. In fact, we were trying to warn you to avoid it like bubonic plague. But no, you have to be the witch doctors of American polity. You have to be the ones that come up with these nonsensical remedies that would merely bleed the country. Your solution to our anemic situation in the United States would be to bleed the United States to get the bad blood out. Well, it didn't work historically, it's not going to work now, and you have been warned. So what is it that has me so worked up with respect to the Don Trumpollini right now? Well, let me play the audio clip so you can hear for yourself exactly what it is that has me so fuming mad right now.
When I watched his speech last night, it was so sad because everything she said, it was like a lie. I wonder if I could start, instead of saying crooked Hillary, which is a very accurate description, I wonder if I could say, you know, remember Lion? I won't say Lion Ted. I refuse to say it. Lion Ted holds that Bible high, puts it down, and then he lies. Lion Ted. Well, I'm going to retire that from Ted. I'm not going to call Ted that anymore. Not going to call.
Then why did you just do it? Why did you just do it? Why did you just do it? Do you enjoy contradicting yourself? Does that make you think that you're smarter? Does that make you think that it's something that the American people want? Hey, Donnie, here's a thought. Go to hell. Actually, no. On second thought, don't. Because that real estate's too high priced for you. It's too classy for you. Why don't you just vanish into the irrelevancy that you so deserve? Why don't you just go and lose whatever littly mind you have under that badly coif of yours and leave the rest of us to pick up the pieces and rebuild our nation? Because what you are proving is that you are just as disgusting of a charlatan as Barack Hussein Obama. And I, for one, do not want to see America suffer through a third term of Barack Hussein Obama, but the Branch Trumpidians handed us this in collusion with the detente wing of the gutless opposition party, or GOP. You really think you're going to unify the party this way? No, you don't care. Because you were always in it just for your good buddy, Hillary Clinton. That's why you were sitting there giving her money. Yeah, you're going to call her a liar? Good on you, Donnie. Because you are the biggest liar and charlatan and carnival barker who has been in this race. You are the one who is the deceitful Don Trumpollini. And believe me, to use your phrase, believe me, I've got smally hands. The graduates of Pavlov's School of Journalism for the salivating mainstream media will eviscerate you. They will tear you to shreds, and they will make it stick. You think that the disenfranchised Sanderistas are going to follow you? First of all, they hate billionaires. They particularly hate billionaires who have screwed people out of their paychecks. Well, that's who you are, Donnie. You think that the WAPO, the Washington Post, as it continues to dig into your badly past, is not going to report again on this notion that you hired illegal aliens in the Polish Brigade and then refused to pay them for the dangerous work that you set them to without providing them with proper safety equipment in violation of New York law? No. They are going to harp on that, and the Sanderistas are going to look at Hillary as a better alternative and option to you. Or they'll go to the Green Party. But it's not going to matter because the gutless opposition party's base is so fractured right now due to your scorched earth policy. Oh, but yeah, Paul Manafort says that you can rest assured because Trump will delegate most governing authority to the vice president. He cannot constitutionally do so. He cannot constitutionally do so. But again, Trump never found any value in the Constitution. That's why, by his own fruition, by his own admission, he has never fully read the sacred document that is the supreme law of the land. These schoolyard thug-like tactics that have become the hallmark of the 2016 campaign are beyond reprehensible. They represent the true worst characteristics of our nation. And it's because they are based on this thug-like mentality and this alt-right or alternative right mentality that is all about tearing apart the true traditions of this country. So you see, yes, he's attempting to redefine the Republican Party. That's why he said it's the Republican Party, not the Conservative Party. Well, Donnie, we didn't invite you to redefine the party. We were working on that ourselves, to return it back to the key that would really put this country back onto the path of prosperity. And that key is the Constitution, that very thing you claim to find no value in. Well, enough is enough. Ted Cruz isn't in the race anymore. You say you're going to retire this, but we know you don't ever mean what you say. So, Donnie, here's the deal. Why don't you go take David Duke, and the rest of your clannies and just go away. Go away. You want to make America great again, Donnie? Start by taping your mouth shut, because America never stopped being great. America is still great because we have the Constitution. We realize that in your mind, making America great again means reaching out to these Fabian socialists who are hell-bent on the absolute annihilation and destruction of the United States as both a nation and a people. But we will resist you just as we resist Hillary Clinton, because you are one and the same. You are the donor who empowered her to create these problems that we have. You were the one who went out back in 2009 and said that, oh, Baraki Husseini Obamani is very bigly good. He's doing goodly things for the country because, you know, he's doing things that nobody else could do. He's a powerful leader. And, I have a tower. Shut up, quaff waffle. We're sick of it. We are sick of it. You are the quaff waffle, deceitful Don Trumpollini. You are the mob boss of the Trumper family. Well, enough of it. Just like any other organized crime syndicate, the way to deal with you is to fight you like you fight everyone else. So here's the deal. Consult that bigly brain of yours, that bigly hair brain of yours, and figure out that you are not welcome, and that we will take a firm stance against you. And even if you win the presidency, we will not back down. We will not relent. We will never surrender, because our country matters far too much to allow a charlatan and a huckster like you to continue to work your twisted machinations against all that matters in this nation that is near and dear to us. The only way that you can bring about unity in this party is to drop out. So drop out, Donnie. Do it. But you won't, because everything you do is about you. Everything that you do is for your own self-aggrandizement. You have no idea what the greater good is. You have no idea what the true, honest, decent, hardworking, red-blooded American citizens want. But you do love the poorly educated. Why? Because you can manipulate them? Because you can feed them false hope and then dash their dreams when they learn that you really are a charlatan, a huckster, a con artist, a snake oil salesman, the P.T. Barnum of our era? Well, we will resist you. We will continue to point out your inconsistencies, which are more consistent than ever, and we will call you to task, and we will hold you responsible. Like I said, we here at Radio Aviation Excellence, the Wright Flyer, being the new voice of freedom, will never relent on anyone whom we perceive to be a direct threat to the fundamental and inalienable rights of the people and our constitutionally endowed representative Republican form of government. You can count on that. Because Trump, your twisted, diabolical scheme is rooted in a lie. And as Aristotle said in his Art of Rhetoric, a lie is much harder to sell than the truth. You have made it, through your dark, twisted, vulgarian ways, very easy for Hillary to play the role of who she really is and that not come back to bite her, because you are the only candidate out there who makes her look good. And I think that was the plan all along. That's why you never really had any interest in winning. That's why you have dismantled all of the logistics and frameworks that were built up in all of the caucus and primary states that you have won. Why? Because you are the deceitful Don Trumpollini. You are the biggest liar. You are the biggest con artist. You are trying to pull a fast one on the American people. Well, enough of us are on to you to derail that Trump train. And what you did in California, those statements you just made, that only doubles our conviction to dig in our heels and derail this Trump train, to make sure that you go down in flames once and for all, because you are just as great a threat to our representative republic as Hillary Clinton. There is no lesser of two evils in this contest. There is no acceptable alternative between the two primary parties right now. And that is disgusting. It is truly diabolical and disgusting, and it shows that you have no interest in the conservative movement. But folks, we here at Radio Aviation Excellence, the Wright Flyer, have been warning about this for 10.5 months now. And still, the schoolyard bully routine that is so tried and tired and threadbare is what he continues to throw out. Yet he doesn't hit the left as hard as he hits our own, even after our own have suspended their bid for the White House. Trump, you've already got what you want, so shut up. Do the world a favor and shut up. I know that's a bigly thing to ask of you, but maybe you could figure out how to button up those frickin' lips of yours, because we're tired of your bovine excrement. We're tired of your deceitful message. We're never going to support you, and you have just solidified that. But then again, has that not been your goal all along? Has that not been what you've been working towards since you threw your hat into the ring? You see, the graduates of Pavlov's School of Journalism for the salivating mainstream media have one thing wrong. They said that everyone took you for a joke from the beginning. I never took you as a joke. My first officer, Jeremy Grapenton, never took you as a joke. Our first air marshal, Mr. Nelson Ward, never took you for a joke. We took you for a charlatan and a con artist and a deceitful left-winger, which you have been all throughout your life, attempting to sabotage something that's great. And the great weight of the evidence proves we are right. But again, the branch Trumpidians will genuflex to make it appear as though their fearless leader can do no wrong, and that everyone else is merely lying, that everyone else has it wrong. Well, Lion Trumpidians, welcome to your childish label. Until Donnie learns to shut his mouth and learns how to be respectful to earn a vote, you are now Lion Trumpidians. So tell me, you dumpy Lion Trumpidians, how are you going to convince the Never Trump movement to break away from that? Rush said that, oh, well, we've got to wine and dine them. Well, Rush, you can go straight to hell as well. I hate to say that, but with that kind of an attitude, you are encouraging and empowering this sort of thing. I don't know what it is that drove you off the reservation, but it is beyond belief. It is negligence to the highest degree. How much did Donnie pay you? I think that is a question that ought to be posed to him, because how could you abandon the conservative principles that you have gone onto the air to defend for so long? What a betrayal. What a disappointment. We here in the United States are tired of this betrayal. And it sure seems that it is only the conservative movement that has to deal with this type of hostile takeover. It is only the right that ever sees their party really cave. Sure, they're going to sit there and say that the Bernie Sanders supporters are being betrayed. But are they? Or is not Hillary a Fabian socialist? The difference is they have the choice between one left-wing radical and a slightly less left-wing radical. Whereas what we have is something that is diametrically opposed to our core principles and values, to the party platform. And of course, that explains why the Don Trumpollini wants to completely modify and renovate the party platform as if it was some gaudy, worthless tower of his. But Donnie, you ain't big enough. And your hair, it ain't badly enough. And your breath, it ain't stinkly enough. So, you are not going to be successful, because we are galvanized in our resistance to you, because what you represent is the most vile characteristics of the American system of polity, and it's not even really coherent as part of our system of polity. You don't know how government works. That's why you sat there and said that, well, I would have the Supreme Court justices investigate Hillary Clinton's email scandal. It's really terrible. I got smally hands. The Supreme Court does not investigate people. The Supreme Court doesn't do that. Furthermore, you couldn't tell them what to do because they are the judiciary. Again, you have no clue that there are 3 separate branches of government. But I would expect nothing less from someone who says that the 3 top priorities of the federal government is to provide education, housing, and health care. Now, where in the confines of our shared United States Constitution would we find this? I'll give you a hint. Article non, section existence, clause 0. In other words, it's not there. Trump is trying to basically rule again by executive fiat, but that is what we have gone through for the past 8 years under the tutelage of Barack Hussein Obama and his diabolical Fabian socialist regime. Enough is enough. We will not tolerate this. We will fight you. And we will never relent. And if that means that the Lion Trumpidians are going to come out and say that we are the ones that aren't listening, and we are the ones that are being anti-American, piss off, because you don't know what it is to be an American. All you know what it is to be is a shill, to be someone so easily duped by the fraud that has been perpetrated on our party. But there will come a time for retribution. And when that time comes, you will have to be contrite. You will have to beg for mercy. Because we will never, ever, ever back down. But if you relent, and if you repent, then perhaps we could build a coalition again. The ball is in your court. Don't drop it. Don't let your smally hands let it slip, Lion Trumpidians. Here's your unity. Here's your unity. You want unity? Here's how you're going to get unity. Get Trumpollini to drop out. Then, that is our condition. You see, I'm negotiating here. I'm being a great negotiator like the Don Trumpollini. I am giving you options. Now, should you choose to refuse to do that, do not expect us to stop resisting you. Do not expect us to just hop-skip over to where you are and just say, wow, you keep insulting our intelligence. We should really love you. We should really join ranks with you. Doesn't work that way. But you think we are part of the establishment. How cute. You continue to peddle this nonsense. Well, I have had enough of it. I don't care whether you pull your heads out of your posteriors or not. I hope you choke on it. Because what you have done and what you continue to do by blindly following this shill will have given us Hillary. That will not be on us. That is not our fault. That is your fault. Because you chose to disregard the truth. You chose not to listen. You chose to push us down this untenable and unacceptable path. You have to live with the consequences of it. That albatross is around your neck, not ours. But still, we know that the graduates of Pavlov's School of Journalism for the salivating mainstream media will toe the line of making us the scapegoat, just as they did for the detente wing of the gutless opposition party for decades. You think you're really going to unify us? You think you're going to prove how wonderfully Trump is? Nah. Nah, you don't have the capacity to do so. Because Trumpy won't let you. Trumpy won't prove to be an intelligent person. Trumpy is going to attack conservatism. Why? To replace it with populism? Populism has failed every time it's been tried. It failed with Williams, Jennings, Bryan, and it will fail with the deceitful Don Trumpollini. Why? Because it is stupidity on a mass scale. Destruction doesn't work. The wrecking ball is so rusted that when it attempts to go against the edifice of all that is wrong with this country, it will collapse because it is part of the problem. Folks, the Washington Examiner has just put out a piece that lists the positions that the senators and congressmen have taken with respect to Don Trumpollini and the tyranny of false unity. And talk about schoolyard bully tactics. I have to point to my own congressman here, Representative Bill Flores. He says you have to swallow hard and vote for Donnie. You know what? One of the things that we have always said here at Radio Aviation Excellence, the Wright Flyer, is that you vote how you feel with respect to your conscience. No one has the right to tell you how to exercise your fundamental and inalienable right to vote. Yes, there are consequences for the way you vote, but nobody can tell you how to vote. And therefore, what Representative Flores is doing is once again this attempted bullying, this schoolyard bully attempt to try and force us to accept that which is wholly unacceptable. Hey, Flores, you can join the rest of the Lion Trumpidians and go straight to hell because your attempts here to tell us how to exercise our fundamental and inalienable right to vote is not welcome. This is the sort of chicanery that is becoming the hallmark of the 2016 presidential election cycle. Yes, we have seen the tyranny of false unity in past election cycles, but it has never gone to the breadth and extent that we have seen in this election cycle. Donald Trump is wholly different than any other candidate who has vied for the highest office in the land as a Republican in a long time, perhaps ever. And therefore, he is wholly unacceptable because he does not adhere to any of our fundamental tenets and beliefs. He is just a charlatan. He is the deceitful Don Trumpollini. And Flores, what you're doing there is putting your chances of winning this coming election in jeopardy. Yes, you managed to win the primary, but you think that your supporters are going to go out and just vote for Trump? Some of them will, but the ones like me, the ones who pushed for you when you were first trying to get started as a Tea Party candidate, nah, we ain't. We ain't gonna be there to help you. We ain't gonna be there to support you. You have shown your true colors time and again, and we do not support you any longer. Because what you have done is betrayed your principles. This is what my first officer, Jeremy Grapington, and our first Air Marshal, Mr. Nelson Ward, have been warning about throughout this entire election cycle. And indeed, it's what I have been warning about this entire election cycle as well. If we sell out our principles, we betray the very things that we hold near and dear in this once thriving and flourishing representative republic of ours. And we can ill afford to do so, particularly right now when the United States of America is in the midst of not only an identity crisis, but also a slew of constitutional crises created by none other than Barack Hussein Obama, President Peel and Squeal himself. We have got to return to sanity in this country, and the way to do that is to go back to strict adherence to the tenets that are contained within the four corners of the supreme law of the land, the United States Constitution. Unfortunately, there's far too many people who don't believe that or don't care, and Bill Flores is one of them. Those who sit there and say that the race is still wide open and that they will support the Donnie, that's fine. Those congressmen, that's fine. You can do that. But do expect the consequences for your positions. Do expect the consequences for your actions. If the Republican Party loses its majority in either the Senate or the House of Representatives or one or the other, then it only has itself to blame for not standing on its principles, for betraying the core constituency of the party. But you see, that is part of the bullying tactic that has become so dominant, has become the dominant thread of the 2016 election cycle. The ones who are pushing for Trump are the ones who are now trying to say that, well, conservatism has failed. Conservatism hasn't failed, you dolts. It is the establishment who was never truly conservative to begin with that failed, and they're the ones lining up to eat out of your boy's hands. And your boy has even said that when he got up to Washington, he would become the establishment, that's part of everything is negotiable. And never forget that one of the things he said on the campaign trail is that everything he says are mere suggestions right now. He's not the president yet. Well, heaven forbid. If you can't be consistent now, how in the hell do you expect us to believe that you can be consistent once you become president? Unless, of course, your consistency would be the way you were consistent before you decided to officially throw your hat in the ring. Consistently leftist, consistently Fabian socialist, progressive, anti-American. Oh, but he loves America. Yeah, he loves America, all right. That's why he said he found no value in the Constitution. Folks, there really is no way to love America and not also find value in the Constitution. America is defined by the Constitution. Our national character, heritage, spirit, and identity are bound by the Constitution. As we have reiterated on past episodes of Radio Aviation Excellence, the Wright Flyer, our very united grouping, the very thing that unites the people of this nation, is none other than the Constitution. But that doesn't matter to the Lion Trumpidians. The Lion Trumpidians want to believe anything, and they will obfuscate everything, and they will abandon any core principles they had, if they had any to begin with. This is the truly disgusting and deceptive thing that is plaguing the United States of America right now. This cult of personality is threatening to tear this nation apart at the seams, and Donald Trump is fanning the flames. Remember, one of the things that we warned about is if you want to put out a fire, if you want to minimize the damage that has already been done to the body politic of this nation, you don't support the arsonist, because that is the person who created the problems and the divisions that we're facing right now, and it was wholly done intentionally. There can be no question that what Trump is doing is intentionally dividing the base of the GOP, that he is acting in such a way as to be a vulgarian divider-in-chief instead of a commander-in-chief. He wants to be commander-in-chief, but he has no desire to unite the party. Instead, he would rather reach his hands out to those Fabian socialist supporters of Bernie Sanders who are not about negotiating. As Trump likes to claim he's all about negotiating, well, the Sanderistas are not about negotiating. They are about destruction, just as Donnie is about destruction. And you see, that is the central tenet of any left-winger, whether that left-winger is pretending or going out on a charade as a conservative, or whether they are actually espousing in honest fashion their true edicts and beliefs. Well, Trump is about destruction. After all, his own Lion Trumpidians have come out and said that what he's doing is about destruction. After all, didn't they call him the wrecking ball? Isn't that what Trump's campaign is all about? I'm the wrecking ball? Well, no, that is not what we accept. That is not what is going to work. What we need in this nation is to renovate the Constitution. We need to restore the Constitution, and you need something with more finesse than a wrecking ball. But that's all Trump knows. Destruction, depravity, and immorality. Those are the trifecta of the identifying qualities and characteristics of the quaff waffle. The quaff waffle is all about tearing this nation apart. And that's his goal. And we have been warning about that here on Radio Aviation Excellence, the Wright Flyer, for 10.5 months. And still the lying Trumpidians choose not to listen. They choose to say that we are liberals, that we are Hillary supporters. Hey, jackwads, we support the Constitution, not the person, the Constitution. I know that that's such a big concept for them that it won't go through their thick skulls, because like the Quaff Waffle himself, they've got hair on the brain, hair brains. Well, it's not going to galvanize us to support him. In fact, everything that we are seeing is just pushing us further away. And those who would tell us we have to exercise our fundamental and inalienable right to vote a certain way, go to hell, because you do not have the authority. You are not big enough to tell us how to exercise our rights. You see, that's what it means to be a popular sovereign. That's the reason popular sovereignty rests in the hands of the American people. It is because we are free to decide for ourselves, and so long as I'm breathing, that is how I will act. I'm sick and tired of these charlatans telling us how to think, telling us how to act, telling us how to live our lives. That's the same damn thing these Fabian socialists are all about. That is what they are trying to orchestrate upon us. And that is what their so-called fundamental transformation of the United States of America is all about. How is this any different than what we have seen all throughout the Barack Hussein Obama's disastrous two-term regime? It's not different at all. It's just more of the same. And too many people have been fooled. Oh, well, you can't say that. You can't say that they've been fooled. That's disrespectful. So what? So what if it's disrespectful? You're going to tell me it's not disrespectful to tell me I'm butthurt? You're going to tell me it's not disrespectful to tell me how to exercise my fundamental God-given rights? If you're going to tell me that, then you can go to hell. That's the way that one works. You see, it comes down to this quintessential truth that is rooted in the heart of the foundation of the United States. You either support the Constitution or you don't. And it is clear that those who are calling for a false unity, for a tyranny of false unity, have turned their back on the Constitution. And that speaks volumes about their character or lack thereof. So Flores, you've been warned. But of course, like all the other lying Trumpidians, you say we should swallow hard and accept it? Nah. We have to do nothing of the sort. And like the lying Trumpidians, you can continue to tell us how to exercise our rights. You can continue to turn your back on the Constitution. Don't expect my vote. Don't send me your little mailers. Don't tell me how god-awful Hillary is. Don't tell me that it would be our fault if Hillary won. It's never the voters' fault, really. It's the fault of those who failed. It's the fault of those who, in their own individual capacity, failed to be the virtuous citizens and leaders that our founding fathers expected us to be. So where the failing comes is on us as individuals, but not entirely upon us as individuals. It's on all who would act in a deceptive manner, who would act in a tyrannical and dictatorial manner. That is the problem. All of this clamoring for a centralized top-down authority, this so-called unity, this so-called uniformity. But that is not how we were conceived as a nation. That does not coalesce with the fundamental tenets and foundational image that our founding fathers had for this nation, dating back to its inception over 230 years ago. You see, to return to sanity, we must go back to the Constitution. It is the cornerstone. It is what keeps everything of our national structure in place. But again, people like Bill Flores are telling us in their schoolyard bully type antics that we just have to support him. We just have to abandon these principles. No, we don't. We never did. We never will. And you cannot force us. In fact, if defeat comes to the Republican Party, which it may or it may not, the ones who are going to be screaming the loudest that it's the conservatives' fault or it's the never Trump movement's fault. Oh, they're just Hillary supporters. They've always supported Hillary, even though that's a logic flaw on our part. Don't come crying to us. Quit your whining. Because if you want to find out whose fault it is, that disastrous result unfurled the way it did, then you best look in the mirror. And don't come seeking solace from us, because we are not in the mood to give you solace. You chose to disregard the principled warnings. We told you all along that he was unacceptable. Oh, well, you don't really matter. Your vote doesn't matter. Then if our vote doesn't matter, and if Donnie is so brilliant, if the Don Trumpollini is as brilliant as you say, such a masterful negotiator, such a wonderful business leader as you say, and when he came out and said that he didn't need our support, then we'll take him at his word for it. Oh, well, you need to grow up and just not care about that. I mean, get over it and support a winner. A winner doesn't go bankrupt. I'm going to say that right now. A winner doesn't go bankrupt 4 times in violation of the bankruptcy code. Sorry, they don't. A winner doesn't continue to kick a candidate who's not there. That is a logic flaw known as a straw man. That is something that a petulant child does. Well, if Trump still thinks he's an adolescent at 70 years of age, that shows you just how spoiled rotten he is to the core, that he's never had to work for anything in his life. Why in the hell would I entrust the reins of political power to an unstable lunatic like Trump? You see, here's the thing. The answer is always, but Hillary's worse. No. No. She may be worse. But I want to know why. Other than Hillary, I should throw my support behind Donnie. Oh, well, he's a good businessman. Except that the United States of America is not a business. A businessman cares about the bottom dollar. We need to care more about that with respect to the highest office in the land and with respect to whom wields the reins of political power. Because our fundamental and inalienable rights are not part of the bottom dollar. They are non-negotiable. But as we have reiterated numerous times on past episodes of Radio Aviation Excellence, the Wright Flyer, Donnie says everything is negotiable. Everything is up for negotiations. You see, folks, that would be taking our rights and putting them on the negotiation table. That would be taking our sovereignty and putting it up on the negotiation table. That is unacceptable. That is no different than what Barack Hussein Obama does as he goes to Japan and apologizes for Hiroshima and Nagasaki. That is what those who blame America first do. And then Trump had a rare moment of honesty when he said that his trade position is hardly different than that of Bernie Sanders. Now remember, Bernie Sanders is an avowed socialist. Socialists believe that the means of production should be owned by the government and not by private hands. What is this, Donnie? You're looking for a back way to get a monopoly there? What, you want to be like the new Vanderbilts? You want to be the new J.P. Chase Morgans? You want to be the new banksters? Except that you said that Cruz was owned by the banks, except then you turned to have funding, even though you're not self-funding, or you were self-funding. It gets all so confusing because you waffle so much. But you go to Goldman Sachs, and your finance chair now is a a partner with George Soros. Oh, but you are a greatly, wonderfully businessman who knows so much about everything, and who is so wonderful and intelligent that you know how to fix the problems of the country, and you alone know how to fix the problems of the country. But if you had found any value in the Constitution, if you had actually read the Constitution, you would see that the way that our Federalist Republic is designed, it is we, the people, that are the only ones that have the power to save this country. Because no one entity or individual was ever meant to amass that amount of authority, because that would be destructive to the Republic. Remember, our founding fathers inherently distrusted centralized authority, and for good reason. That costly, long, and drawn-out bloody affair known as the American War of Independence, or the Revolutionary War, was against the centralized authority of the most powerful, well-organized military force in the world, the centralized crown of England, or Great Britain, and the centralized parliament of Great Britain. Trump would be a rebirth of virtual representation, because he would say, well, really, these Cruz supporters are being represented, even though I said I don't need their support, and it's the Republican Party, not the Conservative Party, because, well, they just have no choice. You think that it's written in stone that we just have a two-party system. That's not the case. That is simply not the case. Oh, but if you vote for a third party, you're voting for Hillary. Baloney. If I vote for a third party, I'm voting for a third party. And if we apply that same flawed logic, a vote against Hillary is a vote for Donnie, and voting for a third party would be voting against Hillary. So does that mean that I'm voting for Hillary and Donnie at the same time? Because based on your logic, that's what it would come down to. I know that's going to cause your little hairbrains to implode there, but it's okay. It's okay. It's quite all right. Because Donnie is a loser. Donnie, the Don Trumpollini, is a loser. He's an organized mafia boss. He's the mafioso quafioso, and he will never have my support. The reason he will never have my support is because he has no allegiance to the Constitution. And I took an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution. And I take that very seriously. Because what is the thing that unites us as a nation and a people? It is the law. And the supreme law of the land, pursuant to Article 6, Clause 2, is the Constitution itself. So we can't get away from that. We can't simply ignore that. The Constitution is what matters. It's the only thing that matters. And folks, this is why for 10 months now, we here at the Wright Flyer have said the only litmus test that applies when determining whether a candidate is qualified to wield the reins of political power to become the President of the United States of America is the Constitution. And if their stances are violative of the Constitution, then they are not qualified to be president. Gee, it really is that simple. It really is that straightforward. We know the quaff waffler and the mafioso quaffioso doesn't understand this. But that is the way that reality works. That is the way that our founding fathers expected us to react. Think of the great quote from John Quincy Adams. There's not a lot that I agree with John Quincy Adams on, but one of the things I did agree with him with respect to was this: always vote your conscience. And you can rest assured that even if you're voting alone, your vote is not wasted. That speaks volumes. That speaks volumes about the current conditions in this nation. That speaks volumes about the state of the union as I speak into this microphone. We have seen the ravenous destruction of so many of our traditions and institutions because far too many are unwilling to stand up for the Constitution. And then The ones that are the lion Trumpidians will sit there kicking and screaming, having a Trumper tantrum, claiming that, well, the Constitution's not protecting us. Well, of course it's not protecting you if you are not standing up for it. It's a symbiotic relationship. It's a give and take. It requires that we proactively maintain and safeguard it to ensure that its viability and vitality is handed down to posterity. No one else can do that. Only the popular sovereigns can do that. And who's the popular sovereigns? We, the people of the United States. Look at the opening lines to the preamble to the United States Constitution, and you see exactly who it was that created this federalist representative republic of ours. It's not difficult. It's written so that a fifth grader can understand and comprehend it. But maybe that's a bit too much for the lion Trumpidians. Maybe they can't understand the vernacular of a fifth grade level education. And if that's the case, then we really are in trouble in this nation. But I think it's that they are being purposefully, willfully obtuse to the truth. I think, ultimately, they don't care. That deep down, all they want is to express their anger and to act like the political vandals that they are. But I prefer the creative nature and the creative spirit that was handed to us by our founding fathers. I prefer the iron will of the American people, the unconquerable, indomitable spirit of the true ultimate wielders of popular sovereignty in this once thriving and flourishing representative republic of ours. It comes down to being the most important aspect of who we are as a nation and as a people. If we turn our backs onto that now, then we are not only betraying those who fought so hard to establish this nation, we are betraying the up-and-coming generations and those generations which have yet to be born. And we can ill afford to do so, particularly at these dire crossroads that we face right here and right now. The lion Trumpidians don't understand the type of fire they're playing with. And when you play with fire like a little firebug, like a little political vandal, you're going to get burnt. There is no other way to describe that. This harsh tone that I'm taking is for a very particular purpose. It's because nothing else is working. Nothing else is getting through to them. And so we have to show them what is known as tough love. Because we here at Radio Aviation Excellence, the Wright Flyer, do love this nation, and we love the people of this nation. But when they act in such a fashion as the lion Trumpidians, then they need to be held accountable. And sometimes that means they have to learn the hard way. And they're not going to be able to just push this onto us, foist this upon us, claim it is our fault. They'll do it, but it's not true. And the truth always has a way of shining through. The truth is much easier to convince people of than lies. Unless, of course, people are willfully blind to the truth. They suffer from the acute ostrich syndrome, but instead of shoving their heads in the sand, they shove their heads up their posteriors. Well, that doesn't work. That will certainly not stop the death spiral that is currently gripping this once thriving and flourishing representative republic of ours. But they don't care. You can show them all the facts in the world, and they won't care. Yeah, but Trump, or now, yeah, but Hillary. You see, I love how these faulty arguments on their parts always comes back to this one singular retort that doesn't work. Yeah, but. Yeah, but what? Yeah, but really show me concretely where this is the truth. Show me really, truly where this is any different than those that we claim to be opposed to politically. Your problem, and the problem that you will encounter ad nauseum over and over again in repeated fashion, is that you're not going to be able to find a distinguishment. You're not going to be able to characterize him any differently than Hillary, because they are cut of the same cloth. Again, we have been saying this for 10 months now, that he is not who who he claims to be. Nevertheless, we see that that doesn't matter to them. We see that they will still try and make us their favorite scapegoats. Well, if they want to keep doing that, then they can go straight to hell, because what they are doing is acting like manipulative, spoiled children, petulant children. These petulant children are not to be entrusted with the reins of power, because they are unable to distinguish between reality and lies. But we will never allow their rights to be trampled upon, as they would love to allow our rights to be trampled on. You see, that is the difference. Our loyalty is to the Constitution. They can play the schoolyard bully all they want, but the Constitution trumps any bully. It trumps Trump. The Don Trumpollini will learn that the hard way. Because we are the watchmen, the guardians of this fundamental document that safeguards our God-given rights and liberties. And that is more important than the presidency. That is more important than the Supreme Court, because all of those are short-term things. Yes, the court may be generations in the hands of leftists. But there's no guarantee that that wouldn't be the case under Trump. There's no guarantee that that wouldn't be the case under his disastrous plans. But that doesn't matter. They don't care. You see, the way I'm looking at this is to look at it as a big picture. The Constitution needs protecting now. And therefore, if that means defeating Donnie and allowing someone who's worse in, not by my own actions, because I'm not supporting either one of them, then allow that to happen. Because as Alexander Hamilton said, if you must have an enemy at the helm of leadership, then it's best to be someone who is not connected with you and whom you can fiercely oppose. But you see, they're going to try and sit there and say that we shouldn't even be able to oppose them. Spare me. Literally spare me, please, because that is a bunch of malarkey in and of itself. We never waive our rights because they cannot be waived. They were given to us by God, meaning only God can waive them. We can't. But again, that's too bigly. That's too bigly. So let me break it down this way. Let me put it in property terms, like Trumpollini would. You see, if you rent a place, you don't really have the right to do everything to the place, even though you have the right to live there. You see, basically your rights are belonging to God and they are endowed to you, but God is still the landlord. And so only God can evict you from your rights. Thank you, Trumpollini. Thank you, Don Trumpollini. Except the problem with that is that's still more coherent than anything that the quaffly-waffly mafioso could ever say. But he is an anathema. As I said in the opening segment of today's program, he is an anathema. He is part of the problem. He is continuing down these disastrous policies which are utterly destructive for our nation. And the sooner we come to realize just exactly how much of a threat he is to the nation, the better off we are. The better we can resist any diabolical and nefarious attempts to tear this nation apart, because there can be no question that that is what is happening. And Donnie's bizarre behavior is only adding fuel to that fire. But far too many simply don't care. They've bought into the lies that have been perpetuated by the graduates of Pavlov's School of Journalism for the salivating mainstream media, and they think that that is reality, and they think that that is what is going to control the future conditions in this nation. Over our dead bodies. Over our dead bodies. Because as my first officer, Jeremy Grapenton, and I have so frequently reiterated, our loyalty is to the Constitution, and we will never stop fighting for the Constitution. Even if we stand alone in a field to be massacred, we will do so. Because that is what it takes. Liberty requires our undivided loyalty. And that's what we give our loyalty to. Our loyalty is to the Constitution, because the Constitution defines who we are. The Constitution limits the power of government. The Constitution protects us, but it can only do so when our loyalty to it is undivided. And that's the problem. There is a division of loyalty by following the divisive mafioso quafioso. He wants you to bow and kiss his ring. But that is not the bargain. That is not the contract. Trump should understand this as a greatly businessman. And this is further reason as to why I doubt his business acumen. Because if he is such a greatly businessman with bigly brains and thoughts, then he should understand that a contract that is binding cannot be broken, and that there are repercussions for attempting to break that contract. And he should also understand that the principles that are contained in the Constitution are non-negotiable terms and conditions. Meaning that because it is already binding, because it's already in place, we cannot just flip-flop on it like Trump likes to flip-flop on every position, on every issue, in every sentence uttered from the mafioso quafioso's mouth. Well, it's not good. It's unacceptable. It is untenable. It is unworkable. And for that reason, we cannot support him. It would be intellectually disingenuous for us to do so. It would be a betrayal of everything that we hold dear. That's not being butthurt, to use the vulgarity by the Lion Trumpidians. That is being realistic. That is being loyal to our principles and to our convictions. That is being a standard bearer for liberty. Some of these people we once thought were part of that, were committed to that movement. But we see now that that is not the case, that they have gone so corrupt with their own selfish greed that they just want to win, instead of standing up for what's right. So how is that any different than the people who followed Hitler and then during the Nuremberg trials tried to say, well, I was just following orders? It's no different. It's no different at all. Well, I refuse to condemn myself to such a fate as those who refuse to stand up to an open and obvious evil. And I will not vote for a supposed lesser of two evils, particularly when there is no lesser evil of the two presumptive nominees. That is where we are now. That is the harsh reality that we must face right now as I speak into this microphone. And to deny that is to deny reality. It is to suffer from the acute ostrich syndrome. But I like breathing fresh air, and I don't want to stick my head up my posterior, so I'm not going to just hop, skitch, and skip along with the Lion Trumpidians. I was raised better than that. I was raised to value my convictions, my principles, my core values. And to betray that is to betray everything that my parents worked so hard to provide me with, what my grandparents worked so hard to provide them with, what every ancestor of mine has worked so hard to do, going back to even before the foundation of this country. Because we came to America in 1635. So don't tell me I'm an anti-American, because I've been here, and my family's been here for a very long time. I am loyal to the Constitution. I believe in the Constitution. The Constitution is what I swore an oath to uphold. Now you tell me how it's being anti-American to support the Constitution. Because I'm going to tell you right now, that is an oxymoron that is unattainable, unrealistic. Just as it is unrealistic to say that you can support Trump and support the Constitution at the same time. Just not possible. It is not possible because he, through his own fruition, admitted that he never found value in it. Folks, those are his admissions. Those are his words, not mine. And so I'm going to take him at his word for it because you all tell me that he's such a great businessman, that he's such a bigly negotiator, such a masterly negotiator. Well, if that's the case, then I will take him at his word that he negotiated with himself and determined that there's no value in the Constitution, and therefore he is not qualified to be president. It works that way. It's as simple as that. It is that cut and dry. Folks, I also have to start laughing a little bit about how the Branch Trumpidians have been so very strong-hearted in their lion Trumpidian hearts and trying to say that, well, Trump is the anti-establishment candidate, and look how he treated little establishment narco rube EIEIO. Well, now we see that narco rube EIEIO has flip-flopped much like the mafioso quafioso on every issue and says that he is still planning to attend the Republican National Convention in order to help support the mafioso quafioso. So that whole thing that he said about being never Trump, he was lying. He's pulling a gang of 8, except it's now the gang of hair. Well, I don't like the hair gang. Hair bands went out with the 80s, and that's where Trumply should have stayed. But we see that that doesn't matter anymore. We see that there are far too many in the rank and file of the political elites who think that they can appease the mafioso quafioso, when the ones they should be worried about are none other than we the people. It is that simple. It shows you just how disconnected they truly are from reality. If Trump is the great anti-establishmentarian candidate that the lion Trumpidians keep telling us that he is, then why is he being supported by all of the so-called establishment? What we refer to here at Radio Aviation Excellence, the Wright Flyer, as the detente wing of the gutless opposition party. You know, people like Mitch McConnell, Mitch the Turtle McConnell, people like, Chris Christie. Oh, that's right. These are the establishment hacks that always stood in fierce opposition to the hopes, dreams, and aspirations of the true ultimate wielders of sovereign authority in this nation, we the people. These are the same shills that turned their back on us time and time and time again, and so now he can add Narco Rube EIEIO to his ranks. He can add another establishment hack to the mafia of the mafioso quafioso. But it doesn't mean that he is anti-establishmentarian in any form or facet of the word. It means that he is a charlatan. It means that he is the P.T. Barnum of our era, and this has all been a facade. Much like his little fixer-upper, Paul Manafort, who has all of those ties and connections with unsavory dictatorial characters like Vladimir Putin, said he was. Said that it's just a show, it's just to dupe over those lion Trumpidians who aren't very bigly when it comes to the brainly department. So you see, folks, it's all a show, it's all a farce, it's all a charade, it's all done to dupe the disillusioned conservatives. And again, folks, that is why we have referred to the mafioso quafioso on past episodes of Radio Aviation Excellence, the Wright Flyer, as the Pied Piper of disillusioned conservatives. Then we see that the great rocket surgeon, Dr. Ben I'm a Victim Carson, has come out and said that Trump is finally starting to see a higher power. Now, wait a minute. I thought Trump has paraded himself as a Christian. You heard in that soundbite earlier in the program where Trump was making fun of Cruz's religious convictions and beliefs and said that he was lying, doing the classic game of projecting his own foibles and shortcomings onto a straw man, in this case, because Cruz isn't even running at this point. So, Dr. Ben, I'm a victim Carson, who made up all of this nonsense in South Carolina, or rather in Iowa. He made up all this nonsense in Iowa about Cruz being mean to him. Oh, come on, Dr. Ben, I'm a victim Carson. Trump hasn't found a higher power unless he considers that higher power more money. That's all he cares about. Remember his New Hampshire victory speech? It was all about greed, money, 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 greed, 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 money, 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 greed, greed, money, money. But that doesn't matter to Dr. Ben, I'm a victim Carson, because he's the great rocket surgeon. He's the greatliest rocket surgeon this world has ever known. That's why he's so brilliant. In fact, that's why Trump still has him on the VP selection committee. Oh, wait. He kind of fired him from that. Oops. Dr. Ben, I'm a victim Carson stuck his foot in his mouth one too many times for the mafioso quafioso, so now he has to sleep with the proverbial syrup fish? Oh, dear. What a hairy situation for the rocket surgeon. So where are Dr. Carson's principles? Why did he abandon his convictions and principles? Is it because he was offered something? Was it because he could so easily be bought off? Or is it that the rocket surgeon just doesn't understand things outside of rocket surgery? Well, that's probably the most likely reason. That's probably the most likely explanation. And it's disgusting. It shows that he was not convincing in his own positions. It shows that he is not convicted to his principles. But that seems to be par for the course. That seems to be a new fad in the United States, abandoning one's principles and kowtowing to bullies to become part of the organized mafioso quafioso squad. Well, I don't want to be a capo or even a foot soldier or even a maid charlatan in the mafio quafioso's ranks, because that is not in line with our shared Constitution. Remember, it is so important to recall that our loyalty stands strictly with the Constitution. That is the only thing that we as American citizens, as the popular sovereigns of this once thriving and flourishing representative republic of ours, are called to swear allegiance to. It is the only thing to which we can swear allegiance to. But we see that we are put in this untenable situation by this fraud. Even Breitbart, Andrew Breitbart, before he died, said that Trump was a fraud. You know, he'd be rolling in his grave to see that his legacy had become the Trumpbart news agency. You know that he would not approve of the way that they have been just cooing over the mafioso quafioso. And it's disgusting. Again, principles must reign supreme, because if we lack that, then we are putting ourselves in a very precarious situation. So back to Narco Rube EIEIO, who's vying to become a capo in Trump's mob here. Why would he do this? Well, he's got to figure that this is the only way that he thinks he can regain his political stature. But he's not going to be able to regain it. He has already fundamentally damaged it and destroyed it. He did that by joining in with the Gang of Eight. But you see, here it comes. Here's the little thing that sticks in the craw. It's that he now thinks that it's okay to go back to his Gang of Eight ways to support the man who funded his Gang of Eight attempts. Ah, but we're going to build a wall, right? Only in your mind, and only against reality, if you buy in to this will ever occur under the mafioso quafioso. The fact of the matter is that it will not come to fruition, that he was just merely making a suggestion. Everything he does is a mere suggestion. And meanwhile, we see that our position worldwide is being decimated by the President Peel and Squeal himself, Obolo. As he goes and he apologizes for Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And that, to me, is disgusting. Oh, and here's the other thing. One of the things that Obola did was to basically say that what the United States did in World War II is morally equivalent to what the Japanese did. Wait, the United States ran around doing the rape of Nanking, throwing babies up and catching them on their bayonets? No, I don't remember that being the way the American soldiers were. I remember the American soldiers giving chocolates to starving children, trying to beg Japanese citizens not to jump off the cliffs in Okinawa because their lion leaders, much like the lion Trumpollini, much like the mafio quafioso, would tell them any deceitful tale to vilify their enemies to such a point that they were not even considered human. That I recall. That, as a student of history, I recall being the case. But no. No. Obama's hatred for the United States of America comes to center stage, and we have to deal with the mafioso quafioso and narco rube EIEIO the Marxist. It doesn't work. You see, this is the reason people are upset. It's because the gutless opposition party hasn't even provided token resistance to these measures to further strip us of our national heritage, character, spirit, and identity. They have been weak, tepid, feckless, and spineless. And we're going to get more of the same under Trump, because the mafioso quafioso really doesn't have any firm convictions and principles. As I said from the outset of this program, and as we have said on past episodes of Radio Aviation Excellence, the Wright Flyer, he doesn't care about anything but himself. And that means, by his own admission, that he can assume any position that he needs to custom tailor his current positions to a particular audience in order to meet their demands. But that is not what works. That is not how we are going to win. But it's not just about winning. It's so important that we recall the very message that we have been reiterating to you here on Radio Aviation Excellence, the Wright Flyer, since we first went onto the air on September 11th of 2015. We must come back to the Constitution. The Constitution is the key, and if there is no one who supports the Constitution, then our loyalty and our support remains with the Constitution and not with any candidate or political party. That is not difficult. That is not rocket surgery. You don't need Dr. Ben, I'm a victim Carson to figure it out, and even Dr. Ben, I'm a victim Carson doesn't seem like he can figure it out. After all, didn't he tell us that there were two mafioso quafiosos, one in private's very nice? Well, yeah, mafia dons tend to be that way. They tend to have a very nice veneer to get someone hooked, but then they'll send their loan sharks out to break your knees if you slip up or go against them in some way. You see, that's what we face in America right now. That is the harsh reality that is unfurling before our very eyes, and the death spiral of this once thriving and flourishing representative republic of ours shows no signs of backing down at any time in the foreseeable future. That is untenable. It is unacceptable. We cannot bow down and just accept these things that are destructive. We must be vigilant. proactive and unwavering in our support and our commitment to the United States Constitution. Because to turn our backs on that is to turn our backs on the very foundation of this nation and to abandon the up-and-coming generations and those generations which have yet to be born. Trump hasn't offered any real solutions. He hasn't really come forth with anything that is different than what the Fabian socialists are trying to foist upon us. And if you look at his past, the very thing that the lying Trumpidians try and tell us doesn't matter, it's what he has always done. It's what he has always espoused. It is what he has always believed in. But we're told that it's just nonsense, craziness to go look in his past. And then they tell us, well, even though he was a Democrat, Reagan was a Democrat. Except Reagan had 18 years under his belt of conservative positions before he attempted to vie for the highest office in the land. I don't see that with Trump. I see that as late as 2014, Trump was supporting the tax cheat and Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe. The very Terry McAuliffe who wants to now allow convicted felons to vote, thereby ensuring that once again a dependent class is created, thereby attacking our fundamental principles as a representative republic. This is the sort of madness that we face on a day-to-day basis, and he funded it. Trump funded all of this. Trump empowered this, enabled this. And to say he's not a politician, you're right. He's not. He's worse. He is a fraud, an abuser, a masochist, out to destroy us, out to tear us apart. And such an individual should never be given a position of power because he is destructive. And to say that, well, his authoritarianism comes from his business streak, I don't care. You cannot be an authoritarian in the United States and not expect those of us who swear allegiance to the Constitution to stand up in stark resistance to you, because what you're doing is diametrically opposed to the United States Constitution, to the supreme law of the land. This is not some fundamentalist position of mine. This is not some radical position of mine. But that's how the graduates of Pavlov's School of Journalism for the salivating mainstream media would try and paint it. That's what they always try and do. And of course, the lion Trumpidians, the foot soldiers and the quafiosos rank and file there are going to make us their favorite scapegoats. But guess what? They can go straight to hell because they do not have the power to lay the blame at our feet. It is they themselves that caused this, and they alone. And if they can't figure that out, then they are even dumber than they look. And I'm sorry to put it that way, but it's the only way to put it, particularly when all of this maddening crap is afflicting our nation, and instead of moving to save it, this demagogue, this Fabian socialist in a bad conservative suit, is trying to tear us apart even further still. You don't coalesce behind someone who wants to kill you. You try and stop them. You don't sit there and try and negotiate with fire like Trumpollini would. Don Trumpollini would try and talk with fire. Like he said he would try and talk with the North Koreans. That doesn't work. And you see, it shows just how insane he is. And because he is the fire that threatens the very social fabric of this nation, he must be put out. He must be snuffed. He must be opposed. And the only way that that happens is by us staying true to our principles and our convictions and refusing to bow down to the schoolyard bully tactics that have been employed against us over and over and over again by these charlatans and these hucksters. Because if you remember, the lion Trumpidians, lying like they always do, tried to say that they were sick and tired of the media choosing our candidate for us. Except that the graduates of Pavlov's School of Journalism for the salivating mainstream media gave Trump 3 times as much airtime as any other candidate and gave him free coverage and thereby allowed him to come in. That, in unison with these open primaries, that came together. And because of the bungling of the detente wing of the gutless opposition party, we find ourselves in this untenable situation. But we carry the spirit of the founding fathers in our blood, and they would never surrender. They would never stop. They kept fighting even when the odds were 10 times worse than what the odds are against us. So I won't give up. It's not in my nature, it's not in my history, it's not in my character to do so, just as I am sure it's not in the history, character, or nature of our cherished listening passengers and audience members. Folks, this country belongs to us. And the only way that we would ever lose control of that is if we allowed that to happen. So let's just not allow it to happen. Let's stand together, shoulder to shoulder, in solidarity and unity, and demand that we have a return to strict adherence to the Constitution. Hold the mafioso quafioso's feet to the fire. Don't support the sniveling son of a female dog. Challenge him, and challenge Hillary. If we don't challenge them and keep pushing for the lesser of two weasels, we'll get a weasel the next time. And with that said, it is time for us to begin our descent. I'm going to go ahead and send the flight attendant back with one last round of alcohol. Of course, if you don't want the last round of alcohol, she won't use schoolyard bully tactics to try and force you to have it. As always, folks, I'm your captain, Randy Wright, and I want to thank you for choosing to fly the Wright Flyer. I also invite you to leave any questions, comments, or concerns you may have, either here on our YouTube page or on our Google Plus page or our Facebook page. And on top of that, I invite you to follow us on Twitter with the Twitter handle @RadioAviationEX. One more time, folks, that's @RadioAviationEX. And there you will find the departure board that lists my personal Twitter account, the Twitter account of my first officer, Jeremy Grapenton, our Blogspot page, which has a new audio blog post as of today, actually, folks, and our Cafe Press account, where you can join the Wright Flyer Mafia by purchasing all sorts of drinking glasses with our logo on it, or first class passenger logo on it, clothing, apparel, watches, clocks, dog clothing, iPhone, iPad protectors, all sorts of goodies. Take a look and give us a little bit of support so that we can continue to indulge you with your in-flight entertainment. Thank you again, folks. We will see you next time. Do take care.